A quick note from Post. Some parts of this podcast were recorded later than others, so some of the subject matter is at this point classified as old news. However, I believe it to be still relevant, thus I'm leaving it as such. Warning! The following podcast contains very crude humor and offensive content not suitable for young children or people with sensitive dispositions. If you are easily offended, then it is strongly recommended you stop listening to this podcast and go back to your safe space. You fucking pussies. Also, if you're wearing headphones, may you rest in peace. Hello there, listeners. Welcome to my show. I am King Jinga, a demonic entity who loves to prowl the internet looking for shit that interests me when I'm not punishing the souls of the incredibly guilty. So I thought I'd make a podcast to talk about this stuff. Everyone else is doing it, so why not me? One of the things that holds my interest dearly is the subject of film, such as movies and TV shows, whether they be animated or live action. And as such, my love for movies have led me to some motion pictures which are brilliant, but have been swept under the rug of popular culture and forgotten in one fashion or another. So I thought I'd dedicate a little piece of each episode to great movies that few have seen, but more must watch. Incredibly underrated gems of cinema throughout the history of filmmaking that deserve as much exposure as humanly possible. So forget wasting your time on an overpriced new digital release or risk going to the theater spending money to sit through annoying commercials and movie trailers you've already seen on YouTube, only to watch another awful woke reboot bad corporate fanfiction cash grab that I simply like to call a block borer, as in boring blockbuster, a film that doesn't entertain but instead traps you with hollow, empty nostalgia and bores you beyond comprehension with unbelievably dull, garbage filmmaking and cringe-inducing virtue signaling with woefully overpriced snacks from the lobby as sustenance that can be bought for much cheaper at any grocery store. Why waste yourself on the asinine pointlessness of modern cinema when you can stay at home and indulge in excellent exemplifications of the grand art of the motion picture just waiting to be seen and experienced by all? This is Clandestine Classics. Our first classic is a superhero film from the 1990s. Now, look, I know what you're thinking. Superhero movies from that decade are either okay at best, or they suck. True, but trust me, this is one superhero movie from the 90s that doesn't suck. In fact, it's the best out of the 90s. From 1991, released by Walt Disney Pictures, it's The Rocketeer.
It tells the story of Cliff Secord, a down-on-his-luck airshow pilot in 1930s Hollywood who stumbles upon a rocket pack made by Howard Hughes. Planning on using this to turn his fortunes around, Cliff becomes the Rocketeer, a high-flying, rocket-powered superhero. But various unscrupulous and nefarious individuals want to get their hands on that rocket, and they're willing to do anything to get it, even if it means using Cliff's girlfriend Jenny. Can Cliff save the world and his relationship from certain doom? Find out in The Rocketeer.
Based on the comic book by Dave Stevens, the film is directed by former ILM designer Joe Johnston, who was responsible in his former career for designing the AT-ATs and Boba Fett from The Empire Strikes Back. Now, think about that for a minute. The guy who designed Boba Fett, everyone's favorite rocket pack wearing bounty hunter, made a movie about a superhero that flies with a rocket pack. Let that sink in. Just let that sink in. In the lead as Cliff Secord is Billy Campbell, whose film career didn't really take off, sadly, after the film's release. Hell, the only noteworthy things he did after this was the ridiculous Dracula movie by Francis Ford Coppola, being J-Lo's abusive husband in Enough and starring on that sci-fi TV show Helix. Which is a real shame because he's a genuinely good actor with some proper charisma, and he deserves to be in much more stuff. And people thought Brendan Fraser was underrated. As Cliff's close friend and sidekick, PvP Body, is career actor Alan Arkin, who's great as usual, and as Cliff's girlfriend Jenny is an actress named Jennifer Connelly, who did manage to have a successful career after this movie, even managing to star in another superhero movie, Ang Lee's awkward as hell Hulk. In the supporting cast is two-time James Bond Timothy Dalton as actor and spy Neville St. Clair. And if you think that's typecasting, they have Paul Sorvino from Goodfellas playing gangster Eddie Valentine. And as Howard Hughes is Terry O'Quinn, known in the 2000s for playing John Locke on the TV show Lost. You know, back when we thought J.J. Abrams' suspense actually meant something. So, first off, let me just say I love this movie. It is easily one of my favorites. It's a great character-driven adventure film with some quality thrills, some funny comedy, and some genuine heart. In a lot of ways, it's like a modern superhero movie. In fact, I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say that this movie could be seen as a prototype for the movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why, as a matter of fact, working on this movie led to Joe Johnston directing Captain America, the first Avenger, and hell, you could even argue the first Iron Man movie could be almost seen as a loose remake of The Rocketeer in a way. So why did such a good movie almost flop and be forgotten? Well, the simple truth of the matter is that this is a movie based off old pulp novels and film serials from the 1930s, and films such as these like Flash Gordon, Sky Captain, and John Carter's that, well, they suck. They don't have any good characters or story and are just like, oh, look! We're just like something from 1930s pulp novels. Isn't that nice? No, it's not. The Rocketeer, on the other hand, is different because it has proper characters and story. This is a great superhero movie and a great take on old film serials and pulp novels. This is that movie done right. Trust me, this is a great movie and you should see it with as many people as possible. Your family, even your children if you have them. Well, except maybe younger children, because there are some scenes in there that might frighten some of the younger kiddies, but it wouldn't be a classic family film without some potentially traumatizing moments. But trust me, this is nowhere near as bad or as bloody as Raiders of the Lost Ark, so kids should be fine. So, yeah, if you like old-fashioned superhero movies or adventure movies, or if you're just looking for a movie that's gonna give you a good time, by all means, check out The Rocketeer. Yep, that's totally better than anything Disney can make nowadays. 'Cause back then they were focused on entertaining people and not trying to shove vain social justice down our throats. All while pandering to communists and bitchy people on social media. With that shitty, unnecessary Milan remake that everybody hates, trying so hard to pander to the Chinese in hopes of getting all that epic box office dough that only a dense population like China's can provide. Had to film what little bit of it you had to film in Xinjiang, didn't you? Never mind the Chinese Communist Party is performing ethnic cleansing on their Uyghur Muslim neighbors, putting them in re-education camps. Communist cunts. And forcing them to strip away their identity just because they don't share the same beliefs as the party does. Walter Disney wouldn't have stood for any of this bullshit. He may have been a bastard, but he was anything but a communist cocksucker. Maybe just a capitalist one, really. And he would have been furious beyond words to hear his company was working with and giving thanks to a communist system that is violating human rights and the personal beliefs of a minority group like the Nazis, just so you can make a less than half-ass live-action remake no one wants to see when they got the glorious, morally sound animated original to enjoy. But hey, just gotta have that communist money. Gotta have the largest population in the world seeing your block borers to justify making such garbage to the investors. Never mind making something for people to actually enjoy. And on top of that, you took out Mushu, 'cause the Chinese don't like a dragon portrayed as a small, silly sidekick and voiced by a black man. Yeah, right. I saw this trailer for a Chinese animated movie that had a silly dragon. Which dragon is its name, actually? But oh, Disney has to be a communist cocksucker like Jane Fonda and pander as hard as they possibly can. Bet Ho Chi Minh saw those photos of Jane next to that anti-aircraft gun and was like, "Oh yeah, love to have that sexy lady near my cannon. Yeah. But back on subject, it really didn't help you, Disney, that the new Mulan's lead star was an even greater communist cocksucking whore, praising China for awful shit they're doing in Hong Kong. And then in spite of everything, you charged $30 for that stinking piece of horse shit, 'cause you think there are enough stupid people who will watch that worthless rubbish for more than it would cost in the theater, or the same depending where your theater is. But alas, Disney, you can't stop fucking up. Whether it's one of your own properties or a property you bought for the highest bid to expand yourself into a company as bland and bloated as your films. Save for a few from Marvel, even though their comics now suck, thanks to forced social justice and writers who don't have the brains to put it in with subtlety. Just like with your movies. People need to look no further than how you massively fucked up with Star Wars. Overseen by that pointless old dustbag, Kathleen Kennedy. I actually used to respect that bitch once before she went mad with power and far-left politics. Back when she worked with Steven Spielberg and all his filmmaking friends. But when given her own moment to shine, she fucks it up worse than New Coke. That's what they've turned Star Wars into. Bitter, awful tasting, cinematic New Coke. No, that's not fair. New Coke doesn't deserve to be compared to the clusterfuck shit sandwich that is Disney Star Wars, which honestly feels like a depressing spin-off of Spaceballs written by pathetic social justice warriors, crammed with all the social politics and one-dimensional storytelling you don't want in high-flying escapism featuring space wizards and starships. Forget adventure, kiddies. Have depressing movies pushing modern sexism. I mean, feminism. 'Cause why be equal to males when you can see yourself as the superior sex? Never mind men have to deal with all kinds of gender-related bullshit as well, thanks in parts to you. I swear, feminism would be so much better off these days if Bill Burr was in charge. Or at the very least, second in command. I mean, he couldn't really represent subjects such as the female reproductive cycle, but hey, there would be a lot less undue man-hatred, especially if for men that actually give a damn despite you not giving a shit about anything but your pointless selves. Hope all your careers go crashing down into flames and you have to work as cheap whores at some shitty truck stop where the only things going into your collective mouths are wieners, whether they be cheap hot dogs or hairy, unwashed dicks. I don't hate women, mind you, and I do believe there should be equal rights, whatever one's gender. It's just these fuckholes can't wrap their itty-bitty brains around the concept of equality. Just how utterly disappointing were these nutjobs' fathers as men? How bitchy were their mothers? They probably think all white men should be like simpy daddy. And that, gentlemen, is why you simply don't simp. Or else your daughters are gonna grow up throwing their babies and small dogs all over the place for their own selfish deeds. Whether it be a TikTok challenge, throwing off the extra weight so they can fight, or just to claim some black dude was trying to steal their shit even though they were the ones who threw it. There are too many Karens in this world, too many selfish women hijacking a good cause for the betterment of others and slamming it into the ground with their selfish hypocrisy. Hopefully, coronavirus takes out all these self-obsessed cunts, 'cause the world does not fucking need them. Take them out and all those dumb fuck far right wingers too. America would be so much better off. With any luck, both far extreme sides of the aisle will vanish. Thanks to this disease, and the United States can finally get its shit back together at last. Get over yourselves, America. You're not the only country in the whole wide world to get attacked by terrorists. It's time to seriously start getting over 9/11. Oh, but I thought us Americans were above this terrorist crap. Nope. It's that exact thought of exceptionalism that sent terrorist crap your way. You just stupidly mouth off America #1, especially when you're from a boring part of the country, 'cause let's face it, the less mental stimulation you have, the more likely you are to be dumb as fuck. Go on a road trip around the country and see what the rest of America looks like besides your stupid little part of it before you judge. Maybe, I don't know, learn about American foreign policy on top of that. Just see how America is truly #1 at fucking things up. It's no wonder terrorists want to play chicken with airliners and office buildings, especially when they have the same problem involving their country. Blind and stupid patriotism. Besides, you Americas take your country too seriously. I mean, the whole world knows you're basically a sad, pathetic joke at this point. A pathetic joke in so many ways. You might as well just suck in all your moronic, pro-America pride and admit that the United States is a giant clusterfuck and the time to stop treating said joke so seriously is now. The whole world has been laughing at how backwards you are for years. No, decades. It's time to take that joke and admit you just suck. I mean, the hypocrisy of said nation is absurd. Don't trust the government, yet America is #1. Freedom for all, yet keep the foot on the neck of people just because they are of different race, culture, and religion? Because a country of true white Christians always acts like massive douchebag. Being a douche is just God's will, then, is it not? Just ask the Christian Germans. They're seen as among the biggest douchebags in history because of the stuff they did. Oh, America, and on top of that, you're stuck in the 80s. The decade when being a douchebag was cool. No wonder Republicans see old racist Ronnie Reagan as the second coming. They still think being a total douchebag is somehow cool. Besides, who cares about true conservative values when you can have all that money? Serving the people? Who cares? Having that gaudy, tasteless McMansion is more goddamn important than people's rights. Who cares if you neglect your duties? You have to fulfill the wishes of the second coming of Reagan, the orange-tanned, spoiled, most vile little selfish brat in old man's skin. Oh, the whiny bronzer. Baby needs to get his ego stroked. That is your party's true priority now. Look at you. What happened to the Republicans hating the Russians? Now you're giving them reach-arounds like paid whores. Oh, right. From a political standpoint, that's exactly what you are. A party of lying Russian whores. And you stand behind the biggest, loudest whore of them all. An overgrown child who proves that you can have it made in life and still be a total fucking loser. He's literally, if a piece of shit took a piece of shit and that piece of shit took a piece of shit and that piece of shit took a piece of shit and that piece of shit took a piece of shit and that piece of shit took a piece of shit and that piece of shit took a piece of shit. And that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit had a chocolate mud baby. And that baby took a giant piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit, and that piece of shit took a piece of shit. There's literally no limit to his shit. A bottomless cesspool of feces, an endless ocean of manure. Look, it doesn't matter to me what party he is a part of. He's just a most awful man who must burn for sins. That piece of shit bits from the Nostalgia Critic, by the way. Easily one of his best, considering all he does these days is annoying sketch comedy. Course, the left has childish, self-centered losers who love to pout off on Twitter for hours upon hours at a time, incoherently to hordes of idiotic sheep. They just don't like being compared to the right-wing children, even though both are literally just social justice warriors, however you call them. One of these SJWs who I've gotten familiar with is Bob Chipman, aka Movie Bob, who, despite being a nerd himself, has their whole attitude towards nerd culture be, I'm just going to follow the mainstream, not make my own opinions and throw big words out of my mouth because I gotta put my college degree to something besides just accumulating huge amounts of debt. Because I haven't realized being a Puritan doesn't actually mean a goddamn thing. For instance, when doing a video on YouTube that was supposed to be about the flaws and good things about The Last Jedi, if good things could possibly be found, when he got to the subject of Rey being a Mary Sue, he said people don't like Rey because the whole Rey is a Mary Sue thing is 1000% about violently resenting the fact a new set of Star Wars movies has a woman protagonist. That's it. Don't you believe it? I love the idea of strong women characters in fiction. Hell, if a show or movie has badass women protagonists, I'd be more likely to watch it because that's the kind of shit I want to see. And I think Rey is utter garbage. No, less than that. She's poorly written and developed because she was rushed into creation to serve as a mascot for moronic new wave sexism. I mean feminism. Nothing more, nothing less. People hate her because she was a golden opportunity to have a great hero's journey involving a strong woman lead in one of the most iconic movie franchises ever made, and Disney completely fucked it up. They just utterly fucked it up. But Bobby Chipperman would rather alienate critics of Disney Star Wars and consider them sexists than admit the truth that these movies are half-assed political propaganda, which, if I remember correctly, isn't what Star Wars is supposed to be about. Apparently, Bobo, you need to log off YouTube and check your own biases before rushing to Disney's defense over a poorly handled movie franchise. Yet there he goes, defending The Last Jedi and the failure of the spin-off Solo movie because Han Solo's a character only nerds like and really understand. The general public wouldn't be interested in seeing a movie starring in the lead one of the most iconic film characters of all time. Excuses, excuses, excuses. That's all Bob Chipman is filled with, apparently, along with whatever terms from college textbooks are convenient for the cult of the mouse. Just makes him seem like the kind of guy who would willingly give head to Mickey Mouse both metaphorically as well as possibly literally, though metaphorically he most definitely has.
Oh, Bob, you blow me so good. Oh, Bob, you should know better than to talk with your mouth full. There are plenty others that can suck harder and better than you can. Like that communist slut I put in the Milan remake. Oh, she'd do anything for Pooh Bear.
But Babbo, like so many other so-called social justice warriors, has moved on from defending the hopefully soon-to-be erased from canon trash trilogy to defending straight-up trash, trying to cancel opinions on the leader in canceling stuff Netflix. You see, the great canceller of quality TV shows picked up a most controversial film from France that's supposed to be about the huge problems with sexually exploiting children. Only it went about that by sexually exploiting children, showing an actual group of underage girls picked from hundreds engaging in lewd behavior only adult women with boobs should ever engage in, like blowing up condoms like party balloons, or wearing panties that get covered in liquid as they're wearing. Just the thought of it is disgusting beyond mere words. However, the streaming service refuses to take it down. And to add insidious insult to grievous injury, they've canceled the Dark Crystal TV show. The Dark Crystal. Fuck you, Netflix! Worse still, there are those who claim to be social justice warriors who are defending this movie. The same people who hated on the Joker movie, a movie that properly exposes hidden problems with human society involving mental health and other issues. You know, actual social justice. Social justice warriors. What an absolute fucking joke. Oh, right. These people are absolute fucking jokes, where evolution has hit an epic dead end. They're not even true warriors of social justice. No, not in the slightest whatsoever. They're cringe champions. Come, fellow cringe champions, there's pedophilia we must defend. And that, of course, is what Bobo is doing. Blindly defending this film on Twitter, saying it's not a gross piece of child exploitation involving a young black Muslim girl. Black and Muslim. That's two marginalized minorities targeted by haters and downright creeps getting more unjust social exposure from a streaming service that will cancel its best shows and let its stock plummet to have this awful thing on its platform. And all that righteous hatred for this film, according to Chipperman, is coming from Trump cunts and trolls, and that these claims of pedophilia aren't the real thing, as part of some bogus hate campaign against so-called film critics. Wow! The idiot bubble truly is real with this one. And if that's not enough, he asks his idiotic follower minions to go after people who disagree with him, who, being the pointless morons they are, follow him like chained sheep, plus some conspiracy theories in there to boot. Sound familiar? Welp, his parent company, the Escapists, certainly knew and have proceeded to fire him. For the second time. How much of a failure do you have to be to get yourself fired from your job a second time? Of course, before he was defending French filth, and after or in the later stages of empty defenses for the Disney trilogy, he had a similar attitude about Harry Potter when J.K. Rowling was revealed to be a transphobe whore after she tried and failed at faking social justice. Babu was all, sure, read the books fine if you have some kind of emotional attachment to the thing, blah, 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 blah. Whereas someone who wasn't a social cringe champion called out the fact that bitch gets profits from people buying her shit and that she has a crap ton of followers who might follow her transphobic dog shit. And that someone who outed JK was Lindsay motherfucking Ellis, who Babu has been creepily stalking on what else? Twitter, his favorite place, his online home. While she actually gives a bit of a damn about social justice, or at least truth, Babu only claims to so he can play good guy like any standard scummy cringe champion. Bet in one of his endless tweets he mentioned the fact this movie won a directing award at Sundance from a critic who was revealed to be a pedo. Jesus wept. These gods rejects all over the entertainment business, aren't they? Bastards defending this movie all over. Failure, Bob. Absolute failure. Just another deranged loser trying to come off so hard as an all-time winner. The world is just full of them these days, isn't it? Choked with all these pointless fools who cannot seem to be able to grasp reality. Doesn't matter which side they claim to be a part of, when it gets down to it, they are all cringe champions. Darwinian failures of the human condition that slammed into an evolutionary roadblock and try to use mass media to bring everyone else down to their same pathetic level. No wonder social justice is dead. They hijacked it. They took that concept, gutted it like an oyster, and filled the empty, hollow shell with their anger and hatred against white people and sexuality. Yes, they actually hate sexuality. They want to suppress human sexual desires because they are all probably still virgins. If they can't get none, no one else can. It's not about culture, never mind even the faintest whiff of any social justice. It's just a bunch of angry members from the left side of the cult of outrage spouting off bullshit to make everyone's lives miserable like theirs. They don't bother going through the noble act of self-improvement, not bother to trying to make themselves and their lives better. Can't bother giving therapy a shot, can you? Just too cowardly to come out of that safe space and face the real world. Worthless little leeches, just desperate for all your attention, throwing cringy embarrassment in everyone's face, all in the name of neo-communist capitalism, where they twist the icons of human culture from the past 60 years for their mass cult to destroy the concept of gender with bullshit arguments, destroying them in the process. So all you sad little fuckfaces can take your privilege and just jam it all up your collective assholes. Not that you'd be able to fit anything in there considering how tight they are. While the cringe champions on the left stand behind empty virtue signaling, cringe champions on the right side of America's crappy politics stand behind an empty man who is the walking embodiment of cringe. Disillusioned fools who think being a douchebag idiot is somehow most manly, not wearing a fucking mask. Bunch of sad little pussies, especially now that their second coming, Antichrist, has lost the presidential election, bitching on Twitter like Babu as he wallows in cowardice in his bunker, wolfing down endless Big Macs while constantly shitting himself and watching fake news, obsessing over them, mentioning his less than worthless self, not giving a damn about the people he's supposed to lead while a health crisis of biblical proportions ravages the nation. Pathetic doesn't in any measurement even begin to describe what a total cringe failure the orange snowflake is. An elderly child, so filled with shit, he has to wear diapers 'cause his bowels can't possibly contain the unholy deluge of crap. An infamous loser who epically bombs both figuratively and literally. Be kind of funny if after he leaves the not-so-White House and somehow gets arrested, the asshole gets pounded in his asshole, but he craps himself and gets it all over the other dude's dick, so to clean it up he has to give the other guy a blowjob. Then he'll really have diarrhea of the mouth. Meanwhile, snowflakes of the same caliber tend to his every word, so desperate to look tough, to hold a candle to the mindless belief that somehow their outdated and literally toxic definition of masculinity somehow works against the powers of Mother Nature. can't seem weak, no matter how stupid it makes you look, even if it kills you. The Soviet Union had a similar definition of strength, and look what happened to them. Gone. Gone like dust in the wind. Rotting remnants crumbling, all that remains. More pathetic losers trying to tell us what to do when they choose not to know what is even going on while gabbing ghastly gossip. Sad for so many how a party could become a political parasite for the country it's supposed to serve. An immense tapeworm stopping the United States from keeping up with the rest of the world to remain with them forever, a deadly, backwards, endangering embarrassment. And the weaklings on the left help them do that, with morons like Pussy Pelosi and Schumer fucking things up and letting these freaks run rampant. America. Seems on one side you've got the Soviet Union, and on the other the Third Reich, all rolled up into one fucked up, hypocritical system. No wonder you're overflowing with so many cringe champions. Not that you're alone. Your parent country, Great Britain, is also busy having a similar politically based meltdown. Sad snowflakes have wormed their way into every crevasse of the political spectrum and ruined it for every person who actually gives a damn about the positive progression of human society. No matter how you cut it, these vile, disgusting, worthless freaks have slithered their way into positions of power and fucked it up for everyone because everyone let them do it. They've infested governments. They've infested the entertainment industry. They've infested journalism. They've infested social media, rotting said institutions to their very core as they wiggle and writhe, destroying the values of everything they touch. And people are letting these scum run the world with their insecurities. They ruin the lives of others, but fail to get a life of their own. This has to stop. All they want is decisiveness to exploit people. People have to stop giving it to them. It's not healthy for everyone to be at each other's throats over everything, being spiteful to each other over crap, whether it be big or small, especially on social media. This has to stop. I'll admit, there are times when it's entertaining watching you humans go apeshit over stupid crap. But it's gone too far. There has been more than enough. The anger has become so thick it's choking everyone like thick smoke. The emotion of outrage over the past 10 years has become so immense it's gained its own gravity. This needs to stop. People need to stay away from toxic social media and toxic regular media that tries so hard and so bluntly to shove some political message down our throats. I want simple fun back. Fun that's aware of changes in society, but doesn't try to preach anything but good times for everyone. To be truly inclusive, not just claim to be in the most half-assed way for virtue points. I want to watch ridiculous, cartoonishly epic action movies that's all about silly fun and not boredom-inducing Mary Sues. See balls to the wall, gross-out comedies without some political implications about gender or race. I want to watch a comedian tell a full skit full of funny, offensive jokes without Puritans screaming about how inappropriate it is. I want to view a classic sci-fi franchise from outside of Japan, getting their groove back and being what they were before the social justice apocalypse, which seems to be at least happening for Star Wars. I want to have news that informs you in a calm, reasonable way without trying to be exploitive, that looks at the issues of the human condition in a rational way without being some puff piece of political propaganda. And speaking of which, having late night show hosts that aren't uptight and pompous but actually funny, you know, like Conan O'Brien, who will soon retire.
Damn it, Conan, you're the king of late night! The last man standing. A lighthouse of laughs in the gloomy sea of political correctness, and you're selling yourself to HBO Max?
Oh, brother, this might be the Tonight Show all over again. Well, gee, thanks, Conan. Now all we got is that glasses-wearing has-been from Comedy Central who snatched David Letterman's job, the ever-condescending Samantha Bee, Jimmy Kimmel, Anthony Anderson's white slave, the social justice warriors posing as barely funny comedians that are John Oliver and Trevor Noah, plus the male Ellen DeGeneres that is Seth Meyers. And let's not forget the incredible empty vastness of nothing hosting The Tonight Show. As far as I'm concerned, Conan, when you leave late night will finally be dead, just as Hollywood will be if it continues keeping its head up its ass. Which of course means the death of Tinseltown is inevitable. It's only a matter of time and money. Now, there's nothing wrong about outing wrongs in society. Just do it in a way that leaves no one out. Do it in a way that doesn't make everyone feel alienated. Not jumping at shadows expecting racists, or finding racism in every little thing, even if said thing is far and away from any sort of racism. If you truly give a damn about change and actually want to make society better, then being truly, properly woke, as in actually caring about making society better, making things equal for everyone, it's fine. It's great. If you do it properly and do it for everyone and not constantly react to something based on social merits and to take away the fun and simple things because they might, in the slightest insignificant possible way, be problematic. In the words of double-toasted host Corey Coleman, it's okay to be woke, but take a nap sometimes. Or in the case of mass media, just fucking sleep on it. Hibernate like old Rip Van Winkle until all this bullshit blows over. So I say to all you overly sensitive snowflakes who can't seem to stop bitching about how much everything offends them, if it's so triggering for you, then perhaps you should spend less time bitching about it on social media and more time bitching about it to a therapist or counselor and analyzing why you're so damn upset. Then your moaning would be doing the most good, you fucked up twits. The more you know. And there we are, the end of the first episode, which basically turned into
one giant raving rant where I ravenously roasted repulsive radicals with rabid rage.
Hopefully it wasn't too terrible or ear-rape-inducing for you, and that you managed to find enjoyment in it, however grand or small that enjoyment may be. So, hopefully you'll come back for more. And if you wish to contact me on social media, you can find me on Twitter and Reddit as The King of Jinga. I'm King Jinga, and that's a wrap.